Good morning from Mission Control Houston. We are at a mission elapsed time of 4 days, 14 hours, and 8 minutes and counting. Houston. This is flight day, the end of flight day 5, while the crew is currently in their sleep period. Orion is currently 23,000 miles away from the moon, and we are so excited. And I'm here with Lorelei Kirk. She is the Deputy Orion Imagery Lead, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what we're going to see today. So first off, Lorelei, welcome.
Thank you.
You must be so excited for today.
I am very excited for today.
We're excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing for the mission.
So I help coordinate the planning, the acquisition, and the dissemination of all of the imagery that you're seeing for operations, medical, engineering, outreach, and science and payload.
You pointed at me for outreach because our team manages all of the imagery that you guys are all seeing right now.
All of the PAO imagery, that's it.
Including the live views we have from our solar array wings.
Yes, all of those lovely views.
That's excellent. So you just came from the Orion MER. What is the MER and what console position do you sit at?
So the MER is the Mission Evaluation Room. It's sort of the back room to the MCC. That's where all the engineers sit, that we are actually what the front room goes and asks questions for if something happens. So I sit at the imagery console, and we are constantly monitoring both what flight is saying here and then also what the manager of the MER is saying. And we talk to all the disciplines to make sure that they're getting what they need.
Excellent. And we have several cameras inside and outside of Orion. So I'd like to start with you talking about the live views we're seeing right now on our screen here, up here on the big board. Tell us a little bit about those cameras that are on the outside of Orion.
Yeah, so this is actually from a SAW camera, solar array wing. We have cameras on each of the SAW cameras, so there's 4 there, and you're currently, viewing the back side of the service module, and then you have the moon there. That is very bright because these cameras are actually set to look at the vehicle, not at the moon or the Earth or stars. They're there so that we can see the external portion of the vehicles for inspections or any issues we might come up with. Then we also have, that's another SAW view, we also have cameras, 3 cameras on the service module that look, like down the we call it the rocket cam, so it looks down the length of the service module. We have another one in the front. It's the forward bay area that will be looking at the parachutes when we deploy them for landing. So we have 9 cameras on the outside. Had to count there.
9 cameras, and
because there's also the optical nav camera. Sorry, I didn't mention that one. People are gonna question my math, so that makes 9.
That makes 9 cameras. Thank you for walking us through the 9 cameras. What I can say right now is that we are in a Artemis II as a test flight. We are certifying this vehicle for humans to use for eventual landings on the moon, which is really exciting. And all of the cameras are pointed right now at the vehicle, so we can make sure that the vehicle is healthy and remains healthy while the crew is sleeping aboard it. We're monitoring stuff here on the ground, right?
Yes, it's one of those things where they sleep, we watch.
Yeah, they sleep, we watch. That's a great way of putting it. And we are also looking at the sun, the stars, the planets, the moon, whenever we are going to be doing our flyby operations a little bit later on too, right?
That's correct.
So we'll maneuver those solar arrays, is that right?
Yes, we'll maneuver 1 or 2 of them to look at the moon. We have to have some of them still in sun track because we need those solar array wings to collect our energy.
Yep, we can't do anything without power. You are 100%
power.
spot on. So we went through the 9 cameras on the outside of the vehicle. Let's talk about the cameras inside Orion.
There are so many cameras inside the vehicle. So let's see. We'll start with the ones that are mounted. We have one that looks at the display units that we saw on day of launch. We have 2 that look out the windows. So one of those will be viewing the moon when we're doing the flyby.
So exciting.
We have the docking camera, of course. Right. Then we have 2 medical ones that are attached to watch the astronauts during launch and during landing. Then we have just an enormous number of handheld cameras. So the crew has a little GoPro that they like to use for video. They have 2 Nikon D5s. That's where we get the amazing images of the moon. We got a beautiful picture of the Earth the other day. So those are 2 D5s. They have a Nikon Z9 camera. That's the one that we're going to be using in the future. So for Artemis 1 and then when we're on the moon. So we're kind of testing it for this mission. So we're going to compare the D5 and the Z9 to see how it looks taking pictures of the moon. Then we have 5 different Nat Geo cameras for their documentary. Then we have each astronaut has both an iPhone and a tablet. So there are so many, for a total of, on the whole vehicle, there are 32 different cameras or imaging sensors, I guess we can call them.
That is so exciting. And you know what? I am so impressed that you were able to describe that many cameras and with such incredible detail and precision.
We've been living it for years now.
So tell me about that. That was going to be my next question for you is how does the team prepare for something like this? You know, something that is so far in the future, something that we are doing again. The last time we were there was 1972 with Apollo 17. This is a similar flight plan where we're going around the moon like we did for Apollo 8. There's a lot of variables here. So how does the team prepare?
So we started planning for this mission before Artemis 1. So we started planning for Artemis 2 back in 2021. We've been planning it for years now.
Wow.
So first we sit down with all of the various groups and we find out what kind of imagery they think they're going to want.
Right.
So from there we can plan. Sometimes we have to limit expectations because you're not always going to get 4K video from everything.
Right.
Not all our cameras are capable of that.
Right.
So we have to balance what we get, what the engineering needs are, what the science needs are, what the crew would like, what operations might need. And so we plan it out, looking at the constraints we have. We go day by day. And then, of course, after you publish the plan, a plan is only as good as until the point you publish it, and then, of course, all the changes start getting made. So we launched, and then we immediately knew that there were going to be, just because the trajectory, there were going to be some changes that were going to need to be made. So we go back every day and look and see what replanning we need to do.
Right.
And then so we're planning daily, then sometimes we're replanning hourly. If something happens or if they were to hear like a funny noise on something and they might want to look at that. So we'll have to do that right then, and we have to figure out how to do it, what camera settings to set and everything else, because it's very different taking pictures in space than from taking pictures on the Earth.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, you can't take pictures when it's dark. It is really dark. And then, as you guys have probably seen, the vehicle is either white or it's taped. The crew module has that shiny silver tape on it. That can prove a challenge in taking images of it because it's very reflective, or in this case, just shiny.
Cases, yes. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you and the team for all that you've done, because for those of you who are watching us right now, it's thanks to people like Lorelei and folks that support her that we're getting all of this live video down to show you. We are, if you're following NASA on any of our social media channels, at NASA Artemis, our Flickr pages, on Instagram, on X, on Facebook, any platform that you can probably think of that where NASA is present, we are sharing daily, frequent updates. And leading up into today's lunar flyby, we do plan to share even more updates as these images come down. And of course, it should be noted that this is a test flight. So some things, they may not perform as we're anticipating, and that's okay as long as the crew is safe and we are getting information out to everybody watching in real time as quickly as the team can work. So we have a lot to do today, and it continues to be busy all the way through crew extraction. How are you feeling?
I am so excited, and I'm a little apprehensive because everyone's going to be, relying on the cameras.
Watching.
But moon missions have a special place in my heart. My father worked on the Saturn V rocket for Apollo missions, so I've always been excited by the moon, and this is just. I wish he was still alive to be able to see this, because this is just everything.
I'm sure he is looking down on you, super proud. Thank you to you and your family for your contributions to NASA's exploration efforts. Congratulations. We'll continue to watch, but for now we have Lorelei Kirk, who is here with us from the Orion imagery team. She's the deputy lead for imagery. We'll continue to provide you with live 24/7 coverage of the mission. And as mentioned, we are at a mission elapsed time of 4 days, 14 hours, 19 minutes, and we are about 22,000 miles away from the moon. For now, this is Mission Control Houston. Good morning from Mission Control Houston. We are live inside the Artemis Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. We are coming to you live with 24/7 continuous coverage of the Artemis II mission. We are at a mission elapsed time of 4 days, 14 hours, 26 minutes, and counting. The Orbit 3 team of flight controllers is currently on shift planning the much anticipated day ahead. Speaking of the day ahead, we are about 4 hours, 57 minutes and counting to pass the Apollo 13 distance record. That distance record marks the furthest humans have ever traveled into deep space. In addition to that, we are counting down 10 hours, 1 minute and counting from our lunar flyby, which you will catch when Flight Day 6 kicks off right here with my colleagues Leah Cheshire Mustachio and Anna Schneider. Orion is currently 243,000 miles away from Earth and just 22,000 miles away from the moon. You see that bright moon in the distance on the vehicle. For now, let's take a look back at Flight Day 5. Here are your mission highlights. For now, this is Mission Control Houston.
Hello, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. This is Apollo 16 astronaut Charlie Duke. John Young and I landed on the moon in 1972 in a lunar module we named Orion. I'm glad to see a different kind of Orion helping return humans to the moon as America charts the course to the lunar surface. Below you on the moon is a photo of my family. I pray it reminds you that we in America and all of the world are cheering you on. Thanks to you and the whole team on the ground for building on our Apollo legacy.